Good morning, students. This PowerPoint presentation is for Curriculum Theory and Practice A, B.Ed CTA12 for the year 2022. I'm going to be your tutor for this module. My name is Mrs. Shirley Lydia Avases. My mobile number is 08141909002. My email address is shareavis@yahoo.com. I will be available for inquiries from 6 o'clock in the afternoon to 8, from Mondays to Sundays. Introduction. Welcome to the module of Curriculum Theory and Practice A. In this presentation, I will discuss some of the content covered in your study guide to help you prepare for the upcoming exams. Please note that I will not give attention to the whole content in the module. For any queries, contact or send me an email. Students, before you study, familiarize yourself with the learning outcomes in the beginning of each unit. Pay attention to learning activities and practice them to gain more understanding of the subject content. Study all the units in the module in preparation for the exams. Let's talk about the assignment and examination. There will be one major assignment of 120 marks that must be completed and submitted for you to be able to write an examination. An examination consists of 120 marks for 2.5 hours. Read all units that are covered in your assignments to prepare for examination. Examination consists of multiple choice questions, short answer questions, and long answer questions. All three exam papers will follow the same layout as of the assignment. Learning outcomes. Upon completion of this module, students should be able to discuss the contribution of philosophy towards curriculum development, evaluate the influence of ideologies on curriculum practices, critique curriculum design models and relate them to curriculum orientations and foundations, discuss the role of educational philosophies play in curriculum theory and practice, propose an ideal role for schools in their communities, and parent involvement. Key module technologies. For you to understand issues related to curriculum development, please pay attention to the following concepts: axiology, ideology, epistemology, character education, liberalism, anthropology, ontology, metaphysics. Please take note that these are just important concepts for this model. You should familiarize yourself with all the other terms for you to be able to understand the content of this model. Unit 1. Six kinds of language used by theorists in curriculum theory are descriptive, explanatory, controlling, legitimizing, prescriptive, and affiliative. Let's look at the humanistic approach that states the self is composed of concepts unique to us. There are three components of that self-concept, and they include self-worth or self-esteem, what we think about ourselves. Rogers believed feelings of self-worth developed in early childhood and were formed from the interaction of the child with the mother and father. The next component is the self-image, how we see ourselves, which is important to good psychological health. Self-image includes the influence of our body image on inner personality. At a symbol level, we might perceive ourselves as good or bad person, beautiful or ugly. Self-image also has an effect on how a person thinks, feels, and behaves in the world. Next one is ideal self. This is the person who we would like to be. It consists of our goals and ambitions in life, and it is dynamic, forever changing. The ideal self in childhood is not the ideal self in our teens or late 20s or etc. Explain in detail your own understanding of the term curriculum. The term curriculum refers to the lessons and academic content taught in a school or in a specific course or program. In dictionaries, curriculum is often defined as the courses offered by a school, but it is rarely used in such a general sense in schools. Depending on how broadly educators define or employ the term, curriculum typically refers to the knowledge and skills students are expected to learn, which includes the learning standards or learning objectives they are expected to meet, the units and lessons that teachers teach, the assignments and projects given to the students, the books, materials, videos, presentations and readings used in a course, and the tests, assessments, and other methods used to evaluate student learning. An individual teacher's curriculum, for example, if we might continue with curriculum, meaning of curriculum, an individual teacher's curriculum, for example, would be the specific learning standards, lessons, assignments, and materials used to organize and teach a particular course. A curriculum model is a structured framework of instruction. It is a guide set forth so all districts or areas or regions, in the case of Namibia, in a country are teaching on the same level. It starts with an evaluation of all districts, then a curriculum is designed, and finally it is implemented or put into practice and revised if necessary. In short, the curriculum is the totality of all that is planned for children and young people throughout their education. So, curriculum can be defined in various ways. There are a lot of definitions of a curriculum. Unit 2, how does learning and teaching occur in the problem-centered design model? Learning. Solve problems at the outset of a lesson and experience the process of solving problems collaboratively. You negotiate and share. Problems are used as vehicles to develop knowledge and proficiency. Learners identify their own learning objectives from problem scenarios. Learners become producers rather than consumers of knowledge. Learners get to think out of the box, looking for the correct solution, which involves communicating with group members while discussing a particular problem. Teaching in a problem-centered model. The educator facilitates the group's self-directed generation of learning objectives from triggers in successive case scenarios that set the context. Teachers encourage learners to reflect on what they are learning and how they are learning it. The educator is more of a facilitator or a mentor. The learning is learner-centered. Learners take full control of their own learning and are hands-on. And they are hands-on while the teacher facilitates and assists where needed. The emphasis of conservatism ideology. Stability. Stability is a precious thing, and change must be made gradually in order to preserve it. Undermining stability is very dangerous because societies can easily fall into chaos and violence. Classical liberals frequently called for revolution, which opens the door to great turbulence, according to the classical conservative view. Concreteness. Liberalism is too abstract. It focuses on freedom and equality, not on the concrete way people live every day. Human fallibility. This entails that the humans are capable to make mistakes. Liberalism overestimates human beings. Humans are frequently ignorant, prejudiced, and irrational. By ignoring these defects, liberalism becomes unrealistic. Unique circumstances. There is no universal answer to the problems of society. The circumstances are unique in each country. Explain the characteristics of inclusive education. Inclusive education acknowledges that all children and youth can learn and need support, accepts and respects that all learners are different, have different learning needs which are equally valued and an ordinary part of our human experience, enables educators to meet the needs of all learners, acknowledges and respects differences in learners such as age, gender, ethnicity, language, class, disability, or HIV status, changes attitudes, behavior, teaching methodologies, curricula, and the environment to meet the needs of all learners. Inclusive education also maximizes the participation of all learners and minimizing barriers to learning. Empowers learners by developing their individual strengths and enabling them to participate critically in the process of learning. We can also say that inclusive education is very important because it encourages the involvement of parents in the education of their children and the activities of their local schools. It fosters a culture of respect and belonging. It also provides the opportunity to learn about and accept individual differences. Unit 3. Define the idea of curriculum by mentioning its characteristics. The characteristics of the curriculum is permanent. Subjects that embody essential knowledge. Curriculum is those subjects that are the most useful for contemporary living. Curriculum is all planned learning for which the school is responsible. Curriculum is the totality of learning experiences so that students can attain general skills and knowledge at a variety of learning sites. It can be at school, it can be at the university, it can be at colleges, it can be at vocational training centers. Curriculum is what the students construct from working with the computer and its various networks, such as the internet. Curriculum is the questioning of authority and the search for complex views of human situations. List the 7 principles of curriculum design. Challenge and enjoyment, breadth, progression, depth, personalization and choice, coherence and relevance. Let's differentiate then between teacher-centered and learner-centered education. What are the differences between these two terms or concepts? Teacher-centeredness is characterized by a view that the teacher is the primary source of knowledge for learners. In a learner-centered environment, the focus is on the strong points, preferences, and learning styles of the learners. The learning environment is designed according to the needs and possibilities of the particular learner group. A further distinction between teacher-centeredness and learner-centeredness lies in the responsibility accepted for the learner's learning process and learning achievement. In a teacher-centered paradigm, the teacher accepts all these responsibilities. In contrast, the learner accepts the full responsibility for his or her own learning in a learner-centered education. Therefore, Directed learning plays such an important role. Self-directed learning plays such an important role in effective learner-centered education systems. Teachers or educational institutions has the responsibility to create a conducive learning environment in which effective learning can take place. Please note that to differentiate is to define, or is defined as to separate out two or more things, or to look at and understand what makes things different or distinctive. If you differentiate, you give the difference between the two terms. This can be done in a table form or in a paragraph as given as an example above. Goals of classic model that considers curriculum development as a linear and logical activity. First goal is educational purposes, a desired goal, objectives, educational experiences, instructions and content which act as a means of attaining these goals, objectives, the structure of the curriculum which provides for the organization of learning experiences, and lastly, assessment and evaluation, the process of determining learning outcomes. Then we will look at the 6 principled routine and practical approaches provided by Stenhouse process model for curriculum workers. Knowledge should be defined as concepts, principles, fundamental processes, and not just facts and information. Acknowledgement of the interaction between subject knowledge and individual development in learning. The importance of oracy, the ability to express oneself fluently and grammatically in speech across the curriculum, and especially the role of talk in cognitive development. Clarity about aims and purposes as the basis of ensuring curriculum coherence. The expectation that all learners can be taught and are capable of learning intellectually challenging material. Assessment of learners should also be better aligned with what is in the curriculum. Paradigm shifts that have taken place in education over the recent decades. We have 5 paradigm shifts in education. They are reproductive learning versus productive learning, behaviorism versus constructivism, teaching-centered versus learner-centered, teaching versus learning facilitation, content-based versus outcome-based. These are just headings. Students should please elaborate more or explain these paradigm shifts in detail. Unit 4, principles of both the behaviorists and constructivist theories that are useful for education. Behaviorist learning theories simplify lessons so that the learner's focused attention and the teacher's curriculum goals remain specific. Because of the efficiency of a behaviorist lesson plan in terms of planning, execution, and assessment, the teacher has more time to alternate or to change classroom tasks. The clear structure of a behaviorist lesson can be especially beneficial for learners who are easily distracted or overstimulated. However, the categorical focus on behaviorism can be tiring for learners in need of variety and stimulation. Let's continue with constructivist approaches. Constructivism refers to learning as the construction of new meanings or new knowledge by the learner him or herself. Social constructivism refers to learning as the result of active participation in a community where new meanings are co-constructed by the learner, and he said community and knowledge is the result of consensus from knowledge production to knowledge configuration. The constructive approach proposes that effective learning takes place via proactive engagement with the educational environment, thus learning through discovery. Preferred teaching methods and materials of perennialist theory. Perennialists use a lot of teacher telling. In other words, they like the lecture method. However, it is not their favorite method. Perennialists frequently use criticism. This is simply a refined version of the recitation method where the learner lectures back to the teacher. All of the questions relevant to the subject matter are ordered and organized in a published list. Each question has one and only one correct answer. The learner commits both the question and the answer to memory. After this, there is a catechetical recitation, which is basically a testing device to see if a learner has memorized this lesson. Although this method is used mainly in parochial schools, you can find evidence of its application to some extent in nearly every school. The learner deals with certain ordered questions. For example, what is 9 times 6? What is 9 times 7? What is 9 times 8? Which have only one correct answer. He memorizes both the questions and the right answers for quick recall. Perennialists also use a great deal of drill as a teaching method. The assumption behind this method is that we develop the mind just like the body through exercise. Thus, we can strengthen the mind by giving it mental calisthenics, according to Perennialists. An example of this is putting maths problems on the board and having learners work 2 or 3 every day at the start of the period to develop their thinking muscles. As far as teaching materials are concerned, Perennialists, like the essentialists, use books a great deal. They also use the chalkboard. Types of instructional strategies to make problem-based learning more effective. Try to grade all the learning activities for the learners to be related to a larger tasks. This is important because it allows the learner to see the connection to the activities that can be applied to many aspects of life. As a result, the learner will find the materials and activities they are doing useful. The learner needs to be supported to feel that they are beginning to have ownership of the overall problem. An authentic task should be designed for the learner. This means that the task and the learner's cognitive ability have to match with the problems to make learning valuable. Allow reflection on the content being learned so the learner can think through the process of what they have learned. Also allow and encourage the learners to test ideas against different views in different contexts. Unit 5, discuss what describes a full service school. A full service school is a school that allows everyone to learn and participate fully. It prepares and explores challenges everyday school life through capacity building among educators. It is inclusive. For example, it includes also learners with special needs. Inclusive schools work in collaboration and assistance and support each other and support other schools or support each other. Beacon of transformation process in education by developing cultures and policies that celebrate diversity. Inclusive schools also makes effort that all children of school-going age in the locality attend school. It has an empowered school representative board equipped to facilitate the development of culture of learning, teaching, and services. Inclusive school welcome fellow educators from schools in the area to acquire new skills and ideas. Promote sustainability and development. It also have a policy of inclusions and ongoing programs on anti-discrimination, democracy, and human rights. Possible practical involvement activities of parents. Be partners with school staff on how to improve learning. Parents should provide supervision for the learner's health, physical, and emotional well-being. Promptly provide the school with explanations for learner absences or tardiness. Encourage learner compliance with school and district rules. Express high expectations for their children's achievement and future careers. Parents also become involved in their children's education at school and in the community environment in which effective learning can take place. 4 broad goals school principals who become successful leaders concentrate their efforts on. Principals promote powerful learning teaching processes that facilitate educational achievement for all learners. They cultivate a strong sense of community that embraces all who are part of the school, valuing and expanding the proportion of learners' social capital and the role of the teacher. These are just statements from the study guide, students. You need to explain these statements in detail. Typical roles that schools play in the communities. There is a pedagogy dimension to the links between schools and homes and localities. Learners are engaged in continuous dynamic processes of bridging the world of school and the world of home and community. Schools are communities unto themselves, but they do not exist in isolation. Schools can restore normalcy and rebuilding education in case of emergency. Socio-political or developmental dimensions. Parents should have a vested interest in what schools offer and in the outcomes of the education process for their children and communities. School boards and parent-teacher communities are the governance and management mechanisms. Conditions of learning that are essential for every child to succeed. A school is a core instructional program with qualified teachers, a challenging curriculum, and high standards and expectations for learners. Learners are motivated and engaged in learning, both in school and in community settings, during and after school. The basic physical, mental, and emotional needs of young people and their families are recognized and addressed. There is mutual respect and effective collaboration among parents, families, and school staff. Lastly, let's look at the benefits of vocational education for Namibia's technological breakthrough. Vocational education reduces unemployment. The other benefit, it accelerates economic development. It imparts useful skills in the learner, which helps him or her to become self-employed, and which in turn assists Namibia to become a self-reliant nation. It puts Namibia in the front line among developed nations of the world. And lastly, it stimulates creativity and originality in the production of equipment, machinery, and other technological tools. This is the end of the presentation for this module content. In conclusion, start preparations for your exams early, get acquainted with the work, and enjoy your studies and make most of it. I thank you.